Newspaper Publishers Association's Let It Be Known. Tomorrow, former President Trump will appear in a New York City courtroom as he's set to be arraigned on at least 30 criminal charges, including his payment to a porn star to cover up an extramarital affair. Numerous questions remain. Perhaps many will remain unanswered even after tomorrow's proceedings. But one big question is whether President Joe Biden will be able to remain silent as he's been so far, rejecting questions outright by reporters on Trump's unprecedented indictment. We will discuss with political consultant Karen Finney. But first, we tackle some other headlines, including the storms that have assaulted parts of the country, and that will continue. We got a show that my high school mate LL should be hosting because it's the Around the Way Girls show. We got Dawn Montgomery, Misha Green, and Totally Randy. What's up, ladies?
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Hey, and you know how like the song "Proud Mary," like Tina, yeah, she does her lips and everything, and she starts to get into it. Like we're gonna take the beginning of this slow, you know.
Yes.
So we gonna start off a little slow and smooth. We're gonna start off with the Kardashian. Oh, did I say that? Kardashians.
Yes, you did. Oh my God.
Stacey's always trying to start something early on a Monday morning.
You want to be starting something? Listen, I got to give big ups to the roots, to the root. It's weekend expose on two black women who. So I always talk about this too, and I think the root stole my idea. I should have did this for you, Misha, for the Informer. They talk about the two women who survived the Kardashian family and the backlash that comes with a breakup with them. The Root published a story that chronicled Jordan Woods and Blac Chyna, who now goes by her given name, Angela White, and their relationships with the Kardashians. The Root noted that black men and a few white men who lay destroyed before the Kardashian Jenner crew are a legend, or should we say legion. But we can't say the same about black women. Take these two young ladies who went from being besties to enemies to the Kardashian sisters, but not only live to tell the story, as they say, as the saying goes, but are recreating new, fresh chapters of their own life. Blac Chyna and Jordan Woods almost had their lives ruined. Others, especially men, can't say that they're doing too well after facing the wrath of the Kardashians, but Jordan and Blac Chyna fought through, and both now are consistently celebrating their success and have made a clear break from the family that usually breaks people. Y'all know that's true, right, Dawn?
Yeah, that's very true, and I think it's amazing to see them thrive in this space now. I just wish early on, when they really needed support, that most people would have, been very vocal, especially black women, because there were a lot of black women that came out against them as well. Just in favor of the Kardashians, and it's very frustrating because you see how that family leeches on black culture, black people, black things, anything all black, and they wanted to be a part of that. Now all of a sudden they're getting rid of their BBLs, their things and stuff like that, and basically becoming like this more mainstream, wider version of themselves at this time. But I think it's so important that we continue to just find ways to uplift these two black women as they're changing the narrative of, knowing really also, let's go back a little bit, knowing who your friends are, because I'm pretty sure that these women have done some things to them early on where they might have ignored the red flags just because it was like, oh, okay, no, they're my friend. It is what it is. But it's more so important that they're taking control of this narrative and saying, I'm not going to let them take me down. I loved how Jordan's family came into supporting her. Most of her friends were very vocal in supporting her early on and making sure that she felt, safe and, validated in her feelings and the things that she was going through. And, Blac Chyna's rebrand, Angela White, I'm here for it. Like whoever's doing her PR, whoever is pushing her, all of the things, I'm here for it. Because also one of the things that I've seen on Black Twitter, and I'm pretty sure that ladies can agree, if they've seen it, is that it's very frustrating when women that have a certain type of past or have things in their past that they're trying to overcome and heal from, that people consistently bring that up. She has every right to grow into who she is now and to really, get back to her whole self. So I think it's amazing that these young ladies are thriving, and I'd like to hear what the other ladies have to say about it.
Well, I'll hop in because I did a editorial a couple weeks ago about whether or not the BBL era was concluding. That was the name of the editorial. And of course, it was sparked by my DC sister, Miss Angela, aka Black China, because of the fact that she is deciding to take her own life back into her hands. She and to God, right? She just got baptized. She is changing her narrative, and so while I love the root piece and the fact the title is amazing, why the Kardashians couldn't destroy Black China and Jordan Woods, I think in both scenarios, I just want to get the Kardashians out of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, these are Black women taking their lives into their own hands, controlling their narrative and saying, I feel beautiful in this way. I feel stronger because I'm operating this way. And I think that a lot of women, no matter your background, though we always want to start with Black women first and foremost, right? Is that we go through this in general, right? I have friends of all racist ethnicities who have realized as they grow up that some of the people in their lives are not serving them, are not helping them grow, are bringing out bad things. And so, yes, it's beautiful that the Kardashians, as she said, former friends are able to grow and thrive and not be destroyed by parts of their life. But I think that, again, let's get the Kardashians out of the conversation and say these are Black women living their best lives. These Black women thriving.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not a lot that you can say after that outside of, I would just like to add, these are Black women taking accountability. You know, that's huge because everybody loves to say, oh, Black women don't take, you hear the Twitter, oh, Black women don't. Black China took accountability for everything that she did, including the tattoos that she got taken off her body, removed from her body. She took accountability for every single thing. And like Misha said, took her life back into her hands and decided to try another way of guiding herself. Jordan Woods, same thing. Everything, when it came to that whole situation, she took accountability on everything that was her part and her fault. And I'm with Misha. Let's keep the conversation on those Black women taking accountability, taking their lives into their hands and deciding to guide another way versus talking about the...
Well, yeah, you know, it's so interesting because y'all talking about the BBLs and all that, and not that she had one or anything like that, but I just have to throw this in. Did you see Megan Thee Stallion throw out the first pitch of the Astros game?
And
I didn't even recognize her.
Make her the new logo for Major League Baseball.
Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, you won't get no argument here.
Yeah.
I was here.
Come on. That's Houston, Texas cornbread fed. Okay. That is cornbread fed Houston, Texas, baby.
She was adorable. She was like, "Who do I throw to, ma'am? You throw it to the catcher."
No. You throw it to whoever you want.
Somebody's gonna catch it. Somebody's gonna catch it.
Again, let's empower Black women always this morning, right? Because she was looking good and she wanted to be a perfectionist as she did it. Okay,
in real time.
Can I shout out to Meg real fast? Because Meg is back outside. Okay, I know Drake has the back outside boys, but Meg is back outside. She gave an amazing performance. She brought her niece to the NCAA music festival. She gave an amazing performance. Somebody on Twitter said, "I'm having a religious experience right now."
I know
she came with the energy. She came with the energy that needed to come. She's back outside. She's also going to be, I believe, presenting at the Country Music Awards. I'm so happy for Meg. She's also going to be at Essence, headlining at Essence as well. Yeah, I'm so happy for Meg. I'm happy to see this for her.
Power 96 says, he says, Megan is thicker than cold grits.
Listen.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. And I bet her she's more enjoyable than
I
Cold
did not
Brooks too.
recognize her.
Okay.
I did not recognize her.
She's been in the lab. She's been in the lab working on herself. We've been seeing some pictures on vacation and stuff like that. And I said, oh, wow, Meg really has been in the gym. She looks absolutely amazing. I'm happy. I want this for her. I'm glad she's having this moment.
And one thing about that, I want more Black women to be mindful that a lot of times you may not have to heal out loud. Or you might not have to heal in public. You may have to remove yourself and distance yourself from people and to really kind of concentrate on yourself. And you see that in her. She's glowing and like just her skin looks amazing. Like all of the things
and you know what, Dawn? This comes, her throwing out the first pitch came just a few days after Tory Lanez had filed an appeal again, claiming that she lied. And look, she got shrapnel. She got bullets in her foot. What did she lie about?
Like, why does she have to lie? Like, that's the thing. We always say, listen to Black women until something actually happens to a Black woman and you want to question it immediately. So I just love the fact that she is doing what she's doing, and she's controlling her own narrative too. Like this seems to be a theme in the early morning on the show is where more Black women are taking control of their narratives and how they want to be seen, and a lot of times not caring how they're perceived. So I really, really love that we are making sure that we're highlighting Black women in this light and making sure that we're telling people like, we're here, we exist, and we don't care what you think.
Right. And he's claiming that she lied about sleeping with him. Sir, I'd be embarrassed to sleep with you too.
Listen.
Okay. So when it first came out, yes, we know. Did she say no, she didn't sleep with him? Yes, she did. So that's not what's on trial here. Whether she, gave whatever to you for whatever reason, that's not what's on trial. What's on trial is you shot her in the foot, and she didn't lie about that. Okay, so again, is it Uchiwali or one mic? You know what I mean? You can't have it both ways.
But also, for a lot of us, we all have exes that we don't want to admit to sleeping with and whatever. Let's move along, sir. Let's move along.
Look, as a friend of mine used to say, post whoever they are considered Black history. Okay. Look,
that's right.
That's the point right there. That's the one.
You see what happens when you get Black women together?
I know that's right.
Amazing Black women.
Listen.
So,
now, as we said, Tina Turner said, take it nice and slow at first, and then give it to them nice and rough, or hard and rough, or whatever. So we're going to the
nice
rough
and rough, Stacey.
Nice and rough.
Go ahead, sing it for us, Misha. You got that voice. Misha got that Tina Turner voice.
That raspy.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on my Tina on the early morning, because I'll do that every now and then.
There you go. Well, Dawn, I know this is really especially close to your heart, all of the work. One of the things we love about, one of the many things we love about Dawn is the work she does down in the South. And I know that this had to have touched you. The storms as communities across the country on Sunday recovered from a powerful storm system that killed at least 27 people in 7 states. They have only a couple of days before facing another round of severe weather after destructive tornadoes and strong storms barreled through parts of the South, the Midwest, and the East on Friday and Saturday. Another system is expected to develop tomorrow, according to forecasters. This next one, they said, could bring the potential for a few strong tornadoes, large hail, and damage and wind gusts across from Texas to Illinois. Dawn, I know down in Mississippi, they've got, gosh, you talk about a place with problems. They've had more than their fair share of problems. I know they've had to deal with this as well. What's the latest from places like Mississippi and Georgia and Texas in the South?
Well, the latest is more so like the governor himself of Mississippi. I'm never going to repeat that man's name, but he has finally come out to kind of say like Biden has come through with, emergency funds and all of the things. But the main thing that I want to always focus on in some of these areas is how Black people are affected like way worse than most other people. Now, I'm not saying everybody's devastation isn't equal or it's not, in comparison or what have you. But when you look at the Black communities that are affected by this, we are always generally going to be left behind when those emergency funds come through. So that's one of the things that I think that we're starting to see, is how press and media are making sure that these areas are being highlighted and being talked about consistently, and giving a voice to these people. Now, another thing that I've noticed is just how there are a lot of Black people who are using social media to call out the media that comes to the city, to just come in and get the pictures and not really talk to the people and be in the way. I think one of the latest things that I did see, on top of, the governor speaking out and then some Black people, speaking out, was that a lot of the communities are talking about how reporters are in the way of emergency help coming through the city. Get out the way. If you got to be there to report, park your car somewhere and walk. Don't have your cameras all up in the way to where somebody can't get into somebody's house or near the land that they're at. Like, there has to be some type of overall emergency protocol for media that needs to be updated to where these people understand how to go into these spaces, especially when they don't look like these people.
Because there's no scoop to get this. You could tell the story, but don't get in the way. I hear what you're saying.
It's so frustrating.
And Misha, you are a managing editor. How do you direct your journalists in a situation like this?
Well, I first want to uplift the Black press, because it's because of us that stories from the past were narrated and told in an accurate and fair way of our people. We have tragic, we know historically that African Americans in the South have been impacted by storms and tornadoes, etc. Just like today, 50 years, 70 years ago, even 100 years ago, because of the Black press. And so in saying that, and to answer your question, we need to get back to ensuring that we have diverse newsrooms, even in mainstream newsrooms, in order to have folks who can not only go into these communities and fairly tell stories, but because I think if you're a good journalist, it doesn't matter what you look like, you should be able to do it. Right. But having particularly as an African-American journalist, I know the benefit that I have going into certain communities and understanding that I have, and knowing that after somebody has lost their home or a family member, I know some of the routes that might be more appropriate when I'm then invited into grandmama's house as they're eating and planning funeral arrangements, to maybe ask a few questions or to get a couple quotes from his story. And so, one thing that I'm really interested in doing in general with our team, and Stacey may have been on the call when I mentioned that, but is getting our hands on some of the literature of these reporters today and from the past who have been really tactful and effective in going into communities that have experienced levels of trauma and talking about how to report. I think any and everybody needs to do it. Any newsroom can benefit from it. However, at the end of the day, to Don's point, right now, we're dealing with not great coverage because a lot of folks have not received that kind of training. On top of it, we're getting people who don't look like us, who have, it's seeming some, maybe even slight, but somewhere seated level of judgment to African Americans in our experience.
Always.
And so, it's really a trying thing. I mean, right now we're looking at results of systemic racism and oppression. And, obviously we can talk about equity and the lack thereof in this situation, but economic justice is at the forefront of this. And our people are suffering. And again, I'm not seeing that kind of a conversation in the mainstream media reports. We're talking about people dying, but why? We're talking about people losing their homes, but why? And the disparity there is not as clearly stated as I think it should be.
Yeah. Do we still have Totally Randy? If not, well, Dawn, again, real brief, Dawn. I know you do. Dawn is, of course, a great journalist, but she also does a lot of charity stuff. When emergencies happen, we notice her moving in the right directions, or in the directions of she's like one of those she's the troops that go right into the front lines.
And
She's on the front line.
sometimes I be loud with it, sometimes I be real quiet. So yeah,
But Dawn, what motivates you? Real, briefly, what motivates you? Because you do, if y'all haven't checked her out, among the other things on her feeds, but check out her charity stuff on the feeds. What motivates you, Dawn?
So, Power 96 just said something about all I can say is Hurricane Katrina. Living after Hurricane Katrina, I was a single mother with almost 3-month-old at the time, and we were homeless. So I know what it looks like to really kind of try to rebuild your life and try to find some type of hope, moving past a situation that you just can't control. That's why I'm very, very, even still to this day, I'm in therapy talking about weather, like how weather bothers me, like and this is a very traumatic thing. So imagine people that don't have access to therapy and are unable to like process this in real time and really heal beyond this. But the way that I see, coming from the state of Mississippi and moving to the state of Georgia, like they look the same to me. Opportunity is way more prevalent here, or just everywhere here. And yes, I've been able to create another life here, and a better life, I should say. But at the same time, I have a lot of family that are still in Mississippi. I have dreams to go back to Mississippi and live in Mississippi, to do some things there, as I'm getting older. So I just feel like what motivates me mostly is just making sure that my people always understand that, those of us that we've left for a better opportunity, for a better life. But at the same time, I still feel as if I should be able to come back and help them maintain what they have while also elevating their lives as well. So it's always going to be upon me to kind of like just raise, a flag and be like, hey, y'all, this is what's going on. This is how you can help. And this is what you can do. And one thing I want to shout out is Maisie Brown. She's a Jackson State student. And I want to just highlight the fact that the younger people are really stepping up to make sure that our people are doing okay and that they have the things that they need. And so I want to shout out her and the college students that are around the state of Mississippi that have been raising funds, putting together care packages to get to these people in the affected areas. And we're also still dealing with the Jackson water crisis. People still don't have, good water there.
And the takeover by the state.
And so it's so many things. So for me, it's just more so just seeing our people see how those of us that are thriving, we're not forgetting about everyone else, like period.
Yeah. Well, in a few moments, we're going to have Democratic strategist Karen Finney, political strategist, I should say, Karen Finney, join us to discuss what to expect tomorrow and some other things surrounding the Trump arrest and indictment. But first, who's paying for Twitter Blue? The LA Times got their blue check mark removed. I'm sorry, the New York Times got their blue check mark removed. The Washington Post, the LA Times, CNN, all said we're not giving Elon Musk $1,000 a month for a blue check mark. And the White House said the same thing. We're not giving Elon Musk $1,000 a month for a blue check mark. And also, they said their employees are free to pay for their own blue check mark if that's what they wish, but they're not paying for it. What are we feeling, Misha? Where's the Washington Informer on the blue check mark? And as far as the employees are concerned as well?
So, prior to all of this, having a blue check mark felt great, right?
Everybody got it.
It was such a great feeling. At this point, I saw LeBron James said, I guess it'll be no check for me because I ain't paying $5 or whatever. If you know
ain't
me,
paying for the $5.
I ain't paying for. Yes, I'm with him on that. On top of the fact that because we know where this is coming from, because we know that it's paid, obviously the value of it completely decreases. And so by no means do I want to look like I am buying it personally into Elon Musk's odd form of making money and taking over the social media platform of Twitter. But on top of that, I really don't want the publication to look like that. And so I can very openly say that the Washington Informer will not be verified if it takes spending money on it in order to do so. We are verified because we're informing the community, and that's just what we do, not because we're being paid to do so and or paying others to do so. And so I think in the same way, it's absurd. I by no means want to look like I am part of Elon Musk's team or agenda or support. And as soon as you're spending money towards anything, you're endorsing that. And so I don't care if that's down to the disgusting water yesterday I bought while I was out and about. I spent that $2. I'm like, what? How is water nasty? But it was. But I had to get it down because I spent that $2 to do it. And so,
once my check is gone, once my blue check is gone, it's gone. I am not paying for that.
And I think that's the consensus of a lot of us in the Black community, especially Black Twitter as a whole. Most of us don't want to look like we're supporting Elon. But the other thing about this is you also have publications, Black press specifically, that is equally informing the community, that never got the blue check. So at this point, it's like, okay, F them. It is what it is. Let's keep this moving. But what it does is it does harm a lot of things, where you're going to have these people that are going to still have these blue checks, and people mentally are just going to process anything that's coming from this particular account is verified, it's real, it's not misinformation, and I can take it for what it is. Absolutely not. So I think it's going to be another thing where Black Twitter is going to technically unite. Black press is going to make sure that they're calling out things, and Black media is going to make sure that they're highlighting things, to where we're making sure that everybody knows who the real people are that are actually pushing the real stories, the real things that we need to be paying attention to, versus the bullshit.
Right. And I think that's the part. It's all over the place a little bit here, because like Dawn said to begin with, I can't remember who started it, but y'all remember there was a tweet, a lot of Black press accounts were in there, and they were saying, hey, Twitter, this was before Elon bought it. Hey, why aren't they right? Why isn't the Black press verified? Right. So we already have that over there. Then there's the thing that I'm concerned about as well, is that the people that do, and the publications that do, get catfished or spooked, or it's just a prank, or it's a fan account. Again, a lot of people are going to be, because they're programmed to think the blue check or any kind of check means verified, that they're getting verified information. Now, here's also a caveat. I know a lot of people also bought the blue check because of the features, and I think that that's unfair. I think the features of posting longer videos, there's a feature of editing as well, that only is for those who subscribe. And I think that that's horrible, because, like, why do I have to pay to edit like this whole thing? But again, black people taking accountability, right? Black Twitter did say, we did say, how could this app be free? And then this is what we got.
Well, this is what. Yeah, this is all about some idiot sinking $44 billion into this platform, and now trying to figure out a way of at least how can I break even?
Give me some of my money back.
He's trash with this.
I'm not paying for a blue check. I'm the same way. Like, I'm not paying for a blue check. I'm not paying for an edit button. I'm not paying to post a longer video. Y'all are gonna get short video, whatever it is. But I do, like I said, I do feel for like established, companies, businesses, and people who get catfished a lot. Like the celebrities who get catfished a lot, it's gonna be. We're watching it.
Bad for the press too, because you got journalists like we see Greer's comment, where we got journalists that use social media, and somebody's just looking at it for face value and don't remember their account before something is created after the fact. Right. They're gonna be spoofed immediately. So it's very harmful. While people are sitting up here talking about, banning TikTok, which I'm not even gonna go into that conversation, but banning TikTok, you got them in front of Congress talking about that. If y'all put Elon Musk in front of somebody and ask him some questions and run some things down with him, because if you go a little bit further than this situation here, just how he's running Twitter as a whole is messed up, and how people have been affected by that. So what we're not going to do is sit up here and pay $8 or pay
Right.
whatever the fee is going to be. And yes, I still want to know why the app is free, because the app should still be free, because it's an amazing place for people to gather their information in real time. This
That
has
part.
been the way that we have been able to report and connect with people and engage with them. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I enjoy about social media, that I get attacked for, is how I engage with people. Don't be mad at me because I know how to use this app, but I'm not going to pay for that. And yes, my
Right.
following is real. It's very organic. I didn't pay for those followers, because you got to think about that.
Yep.
People are paying for followers on top
Yep.
of this check. So therefore, you see this number, you see the check. Oh, it's got to be real. It's not.
Right.
Yep.
Well, isn't we've, and yeah, kind of touched on it already. Isn't it watered down anyway? Because now that, I mean, people have been buying the blue check mark now for like several months now, and you see people with 2 followers with a check mark, and it's like, what's going on here, and who are you? And
And
so
it's crazy. The crazy things that I see is people with the blue follower, and then the blue check mark, and then it's just one tweak to their name, and it's closer. You know what I mean?
Yay.
Not to pick on the Will Smith guy, but the Will Smith guy, I think he's funny. He's regular guy, but I see him get mistaken a lot for the actual Will Smith account. And it's not Will Smith. So it's just crazy to me, the people that and he doesn't do anything wrong. I mean, he definitely states it in there that he's not Will Smith, right? But I'm just using him as an example. The ones that do have that one tweet to their name, and then they tweet as if they're that person or that company, is so weird to me. So it is kind of watered down, because it's a lot of people with these blue checks that are, but I think those who kind of are smart enough to understand, like, we double, triple, quadruple check. I've seen people, delete their tweets if they retweet something from a verified account, but it's not really verified.
Well, Jason Alexander, the Seinfeld actor, said that he made the announcement on Twitter. He says, "Look, this might be the last day you see me tweeting." He says, "I'm not paying for the check mark," and he said that, so anybody who tweets from this account, know that it's not me. And I'm like, okay, that's how you do it. That is exactly how you do it. So much misinformation and disinformation. We know Twitter was at they was at the forefront, along with Facebook, during the 2016 election, with all of that Russian interference and things like that. So this doesn't help at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
But I also want to say, I like to try to find how can we look at this optimistically. And one thing that I will say is that if we look at the opportunity we have to make sure that our websites are extremely tight, right? And I'm talking about the Black press here, that our websites are looking good, that our tweets are very sound and factual and engaging. And if we are really working on strengthening and elevating how we're showing up on social media, I think that gives us a bit of an opportunity to make ourselves only stronger, because nobody's gonna question, blue check or not, if the Washington Post is the Washington Post. Right. No one's gonna question, blue check or not, the New York Times. And so I think, nobody should be questioning any of us if we have these reputable sources, because we've built that reputation of strong, sound journalism.
Well, hang on, Misha, and everyone else. Now that former President Donald Trump has been indicted in a New York hush money case, White House officials indicate they plan to follow the original keep quiet and carry on playbook. That plan could be tested in the days ahead as Republicans rally around Trump and they attack the U.S. judicial system. And some, including Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, got a major platform on 60 Minutes last night, and they making plans, she says, to protest in New York on Tuesday. Let's discuss all of this with political strategist Karen Finney. Good morning, and thanks for joining us again.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
It's good to have you. First and foremost, the discussion is centered around the president, Biden, and being quiet. Isn't that the best strategy right now for the president?
Oh, absolutely. And it's good strategy for a couple reasons. You know, what we're seeing from the Republicans, and it's really shameful, not just from former President Trump, but also Republican leadership, elected leaders who swear an oath to our Constitution, are attacking and undermining our democracy and our democratic institutions. Not to mention, the integrity of the district attorney. And so it's so imperative that and it's going to get weirder. Let's just call it out. It's going to get real strange, because this is one of several indictments that we expect to come. And so I think the American people also need to see that even within this chaos, we have a president who is just doing his job, leading, getting things done for the American people, right? That continuity, that stability, I think is going to be very reassuring for people. And so that's one of the reasons why it's such an important strategy. And the second is also, there's nothing to be gained by weighing in. There's nothing that can be said that will add to the evidence. And certainly I think this president and this administration is mindful of, not wanting to do anything to disrupt the legal process in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Now, Karen, is this indictment, we hear the arguments, is this indictment good or bad for our democracy, and why?
Yeah, it's terrible for our democracy. Well, I should say, because a couple of things. It's good in that it shows no one is above the law and that everyone is accountable. But it's bad in that, how terrible is it that the United States of America now has indicted a former president of the United States? And that says something about the character of the individual, which we all knew anyway. We've been talking about that for a while anyway. But now we really see it up close and personal. At the same time, it is important that, and the other thing I think is so critical to remind people is that this isn't just Alvin Bragg, the district attorney in New York. He didn't just wake up and decide to do this. There was a whole process that is part of our democracy, right? And he had to present evidence to a grand jury that was comprised of just ordinary Americans who had to hear the evidence and weigh the decision to vote for this indictment. So there was a whole process that got us to this point. And so it shows that part of the system working, certainly, and that's important. And we should hold people accountable. And the former president rather, will be held accountable, and he'll have an opportunity to make his case.
And how concerning is it that we have such high ranking, not just ordinary, if you want to use the term Republicans, but people like the speaker, people like Jim Jordan and of course Marjorie Taylor Greene and high profile Republicans denouncing this and even calling for protests. How troubling is that?
Yeah. It's extremely troubling. Again, these leaders, they're elected. They swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America and the rule of law. And instead, what they're doing is undermining that, and they're attacking the system they're supposed to defend. So that's very troubling. Also, they're putting their thumbs on the scale of justice, if you will, right? Because they're putting in their opinion. And by the way, we haven't even seen the indictments yet. So we don't know what it's going to say. So they made a rush judgment without even knowing the facts of the case.
Right. And what does it do? What does this do to the presidential race, including Trump's primary opponents like Governor DeSantis? If Trump's the GOP nominee, how might it affect the general election?
Oh, we're going to be in for another. I mean, I was thinking about this last week and I thought, oh, Lord, we're going to be talking about Trump for the next, year and a half. Right. A couple of things. You've already seen that if the challenge, I think, if you're trying to run against Trump, you've already seen they all jump real quickly, with the exception of Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas, who just yesterday announced he'll be getting in the race.
Yes.
They jump to defend him. And so if you're running against someone, if you're having to defend that person the whole time, and you're already seeing them struggle, but you're trying to talk about why you would be a better leader than that person. But you're worried about alienating his supporters. That's a treacherous path for a candidate, because how do you ever draw contrast? How do you ever, and you saw they all struggled with it mightily. So that's one part. I think in the general election, though, and this is something that's really important for us to remember, and we've already seen polls about this, Democrats, obviously, and independent voters, they do not like this. They do not. Remember that independent voters and some moderate Republicans voted for Democrats because of January 6th, because of all that chaos. So they look at this, I think, and they'll continue to look at this as it unfolds and it continues to be just a mess. It reminds them of the chaos of the Trump years and governing by tweet, and frankly, just the way he was unethical in so many of his actions. And so I think it's going, in a general election context, I think it's going to probably galvanize voters. You have that 30% that seem to follow him, but I think it's going to galvanize folks on the other side to again say, we've got to stand up for democracy and we've got to stand up for our country. So that's what I hope will happen, at least.
When you see from your lens, when you see an Andrew Cuomo say that this is politically motivated, a Democrat, or at least someone who once claimed to be a Democrat, and of course Joe Manchin also went against this indictment as well, and Manchin also indicated that there's a possibility he may run for president. What is what happens to the party when you see things like that? Already we know neither one of them are in the House of Representatives, Cuomo or Manchin, but we see how polarized it already is. When you hear a Manchin and a Cuomo, how does that affect the party?
Well, look, I think we're going to all have to remember there's politics in politics here. So, I mean, it's not good for it's not good for the country, right? To have a former governor saying that this is politically motivated. Shame on him, because he has no idea what's in the indictments, by the way. So anybody who's claiming anything about it other than that, hey, this is the legal process playing itself out, shame on you, because you don't actually know what's in it. Now, I will say with Governor Joe Manchin, the thing to remember is he's up for re-election in West Virginia, and that is a state that Trump won quite handily. So he's going to have to walk a very fine line. You've already seen him kind of taking some jabs at President Biden on a couple of different issues. I suspect that's part of his re-election strategy, because he knows he's got to get some portion of that probably Trumpy Republican base in his state to support him. And I wouldn't be so surprised if, I feel like this is one where behind the scenes Democrats are like, you do what you got to do, Joe. We understand.
Right.
So.
Well, I know you're on a strict time frame this morning. Just a couple more for you. Given how Trump is polarizes Americans, is this going to change anyone's opinion of him?
It could. I'll tell you. One of the things that we saw that January 6th did is even voters who, obviously in 2020, President Biden won outright, but we saw after January 6th, it actually emboldened some more middle of the road folks to really come out and say, this is wrong. This is not what I'm not for this. And remember that even in 2020, we heard people saying things like, they didn't like that he was so divisive and so mean. So I think it could change opinions in that I think his behavior is going to continue to be so outrageous and unethical. I mean, it is unethical and un-American for a former president to attack our democratic system. And I think that's going to turn more people off who are going to say, you know what, his time has passed. We got to move on. So I hope so.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what happens.
And finally, Karen, again, we really appreciate your time this morning. Neither
Oh, yeah.
side thinks the media did a good job covering Trump. What are the dangers for the media now, including the conservative media? Is there an upside for anyone other than increased ratings?
Right. Well, there's one network we know about that they don't care about anything but ratings and money. So I don't expect Fox to cover this fairly. So, you go there if you want some conservative right-wing entertainment, but that's not news. Everybody else, though, I think has a responsibility to take it slow, cover the facts as we know them, when we know them, because again, each of these various indictments, there was more information released just last night, for example, about the investigations into the documents at Mar-a-Lago. So we're going to keep learning new information. Let's stay focused on the facts. Let's stay focused on what we know when we know it. And again, remind everyone, this is how our legal system works. And now I'll admit, it works a little differently for white collar crimes than for the rest of us, but that's okay for blue collar. But, at every point of the way, you have people who are diligently collecting facts and information, presenting that, going through a process of these grand juries who will make decisions, indictments may be brought, charges may be brought. And I think so we have a duty to that, and I think to just remind people of the facts, but also let's call out when we see elected leaders calling for violence. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's I'm actually in New York. Marjorie Taylor Greene is coming up here. What is that for, right? That can't be, I thought, oh, that can't be good.
No.
So, right? So it's also making sure that we're covering, don't be afraid to call out what is going to be very destructive behavior when we see it. We got to be, tell the facts, but don't be afraid to call out behavior that is not helpful to our country and the process.
Will we see you working on any campaigns or writing any books? Anything coming up for Karen Finney?
I don't know if I'll end up working on any campaigns. We'll see. I certainly will find a way to help one way or the other, because obviously this election, it's going to be critical. It's going to be, I think, another election that our democracy is really on the line here. No question.
Yeah. Renowned political strategist Karen Finney, it's a privilege to have you. As we sign off, we want you to hang on, Karen, just to be able to say goodbye to our producer. But thank you all for watching. Tomorrow, of course, is the big day, 2:00 tomorrow afternoon, the arraignment of former President Donald Trump. We'll bring you details. Thanks for watching. Let it be known. We'll see you then.
Thanks.